My predictions for UFC 322 did not go as expected, and I am very disappointed. Not because I was wrong, but because I was wrong about very significant fights. Fights where I'd been glazing these guys for the past few months. That includes Jack Della Maddalena and Sean Brady. Leon Edwards, I kind of knew he was going to lose this fight, although I did see him winning it somehow. Here was my logic for Sean Brady versus Michael Morales. On paper, Michael Morales is a tremendous athlete. He's long, standing at 6 feet tall, and he's not wiry like Ian Gary. He has a lot of muscle on him despite his long frame. I don't even understand how this guy makes weight, but I wouldn't be surprised if he weighed around the same as Sean Brady, and if anything, he probably did. Leon Edwards weighed around 194 pounds. Sean Brady claimed that he's almost 200 pounds whenever he fights. So in a sport that's dominated by weight bullies, I just don't think Michael Morales is the greatest example of that. And that's probably hard to believe looking at his frame. But there's so many factors that come into play, be it body fat percentage, bone density. Michael's just one of those guys that capitalizes on that very well. The reason why I didn't buy into Michael was because looking at his resume, I just didn't feel like he faced enough notable names for me to have confidence that he would beat Sean Brady. And I'm not the only person who thought this. The odds makers had him as an underdog for a good reason. His best two wins were Gilbert Burns and Neil Magny. Gilbert was on a losing streak, and yes, he was facing some very notable names, but he just hasn't looked that good in his last few fights, excluding his Jack Della Maddalena fight. But that performance was somewhat fluky because JDM broke his arm in the first round, and that contributed to Gilbert having so much success in the grappling exchanges. Don't believe me? Explain how JDM's takedown defense and scrambles looked a lot better in his fight against Belal Muhammad, despite Belal being the better grappler. Neil has been looking a lot better, and when you look at the guys they put him up against, all of them were prospects. Ian Gary, Mike Malott, Carlos Prates, and Michael Morales. He managed to win one fight there. That was against Mike Malott. That is a very good win, and it's aging like fine wine. And that same Neil Magny went on to win 2 fights after losing to both Carlos Prates and Michael Morales. And some of these names aren't that good. I mean, it was Alicia Dos Santos and Jake Matthews. Alicia hasn't been looking good as of late, but Jake Matthews, that was a pretty decent win. Although I do think Jake Matthews was the rightful winner. That was a very controversial decision, but I'll leave it to you guys to go do the research. The good part about these fights is that Michael dominated both Gilbert Burns and Neil Magny. The Gilbert Burns did not give us any footage for us to be convinced that Michael has some holes in his game. Yes, he was taken down or controlled against the cage, but Gilbert couldn't do anything, man. And it doesn't really surprise me that a fighter gets taken down. It's different when they're doing everything they can to defend the takedown and they just get taken down over and over again. This dude would blitz Gilbert, having no regard for defense, and rightfully so. This guy hits like a truck, and Gilbert Burns isn't the hardest hitter. On top of that, he's primarily a grappler, so there isn't that much to be afraid of on the feet. And yes, he knocked down Khamzat Chimaev. Khamzat was also being reckless. In fact, way more reckless than Michael Morales was. He wasn't putting himself in positions where Gilbert could capitalize on them. And if anything, just if you have a man that big coming at you, blitzing, throwing a flurry of punches, defense should be your number one priority. And that just wasn't enough, man. The Neil Magny fight had me a little worried because there was a point where Neil had him against the fence for an extended period. I think it was over a minute, but Neil couldn't really do anything. You could tell that if he was to let go of the body lock, Michael would land something crazy, which was exactly what happened. He landed a spinning back elbow, dropped Neil, and then finished him with ground and pound. Believe it or not, I thought that was enough evidence for me to believe that Sean was just going to be able to ragdoll this guy. On top of that, I think Sean is just very good because once upon a time, Leon Edwards was seen as one of the best anti-grapplers. And even in the fights he was losing, that being against Belal Muhammad, it's not like Belal looked in control the entire time. Leon was getting some reverses here and there, and even in the 5th round, he almost had the fight finished. So I was convinced that if Sean Brady can out-grapple someone like Leon Edwards that dominantly, controlling him for almost an entire freaking round, I don't know if it was the 2nd or 3rd round, but Sean Brady controlled him for 4 minutes and 57 seconds. Basically the entire 5 minutes, which is insane. And the thing about Sean, right, is when he takes you down, you will stay there. I think he does that even better than Belal Muhammad. I think Belal shines in the wrestling, be it the doubles, the singles, just the timing of his takedowns, the explosiveness of his takedowns. But Sean Brady, once he does take you down, I am very convinced that he's much better than Belal Muhammad because there's not only a threat of minimal ground and pound, is also a threat of a submission. This dude beat Craig Jones in a BJJ match, and there's some context behind that. Some dude said leg locks weren't allowed, and I'm not going to act like I'm the biggest fan of BJJ, but that made the fight significantly different. But needless to say, Sean Brady has some legit BJJ. But when he went up against Michael Morales, Michael did not give him any room to actually show that, because he would overwhelm him with the pressure. And we've seen Sean Brady fall to pressure against Bilal Pillow Hands Muhammad. Bilal has zero power whatsoever. I think he's very strong physically, but that only works in wrestling exchanges. In the striking department, the dude couldn't hurt a fly. And that there showed me that Sean Brady is not durable. He's very chinny, but we haven't really seen anyone land flush on him. That was until he faced Bilal Muhammad. So I should have known that if Sean were to lose this fight, it would have something to do with his durability. And that was the thing I feared. It was at the back of my mind. But looking at the fight, I don't think he lost because of his durability. He lost because Michael hits like a freaking truck. Look at his previous fights. The same way he finished Sean Brady, the same way he finished Gilbert Burns, and the same way he finished Trevin Giles was because he blitzes, throws flurries of punches, and your brain just can't take that much accumulative damage. The very first time I watched the fight, I was kind of surprised that Sean wasn't wrestling as much as I would have expected him to. There were long striking exchanges, and yes, he would find home with his lead left hook, but that's partially what contributed to the finishing sequence. Michael countered that lead left hook with a right hand left hook uppercut combo that dropped Sean, and then he went for the ground and pound finish. If Sean had wrestled more, I think he would have had more success, because I did believe that there were some openings where he could have shot for a single or a double. And even if he doesn't complete the takedown, he's going to be minimizing the chances of getting finished. He did attempt one takedown, but it was very forced, and I still have to give credit where it's due. Michael had the right game plan. His stance was very low so that he would be able to sprawl the takedowns should Sean shoot for them. And you could see Sean was feinting a lot of takedowns, but it just didn't seem very convincing. Michael was also keeping him on the outside with the jab, and even when he wasn't landing it, it felt like Sean had a shotgun and Michael had a Barrett sniper rifle with Sean Brady in his sight. And Sean knew it, so he had to tread softly. Man, it's pretty obvious that Sean Brady does not fight very well under pressure. He can't fight on the back foot. All you have to do is pressure him, have no regard for defense, have good enough takedown defense, and you will beat Sean Brady. The funny part was he said the same thing about Leon Edwards. When you make the fight dirty and it's no longer clean, when he no longer fights on his terms, he crumbles. But that's how you got finished by Michael Morales and Bilal Muhammad. I'm very excited for Michael Morales' future in the division, and I want you guys to let me know what you think is next for him. And don't forget to like and subscribe.